Have you ever wondered why some adults develop illnesses that medicine cannot fully explain? Why certain people live in a constant cycle of fatigue, anxiety, and physical symptoms that appear and disappear without apparent reason? The answer might be hidden in a place most doctors never investigate: the wounded child you carry within you. This child didn't grow, didn't heal, wasn't seen, and now, decades later, they are screaming through your adult body, creating symptoms that are desperate messages begging to finally be heard. Deep psychology teaches us that when we fragment parts of ourselves in childhood to survive abandonment, abuse, or emotional neglect, those parts don't disappear. They become open wounds in the unconscious, bleeding vital energy, and creating a state of internal disintegration that manifests as illness. But there's an even more disturbing truth about this dynamic, a discovery that will completely change how you understand your own physical symptoms. As you read these words, your inner child is trying to communicate with you through every inexplicable pain, every unexplained fatigue, every symptom that tests can't justify. They learned that screaming didn't work, that crying was dangerous, that showing needs was synonymous with rejection. So they found a language you would be forced to listen to, the language of a body that falls ill. How many times have you felt that chest pressure with no medical explanation? How many nights have you stayed awake with a racing mind, reliving situations that should have stayed in the past? How many physical symptoms have you developed precisely in moments when you felt most abandoned or rejected? Your inner child is using your adult body as a canvas where they paint the pain that was never seen. They create the fibromyalgia that no doctor can completely cure. They generate the irritable bowel syndrome that appears whenever you feel insecure. They produce the migraines that arrive when you need to say no, but can't. Recognize this pattern. Your body is not against you. It is desperately trying to show you where your soul is wounded. The inner child is more than a romantic psychological concept. It is a real structure of the psyche, a part of you that became frozen in time the moment it was first wounded. When a child does not receive the unconditional love, emotional validation, and security they need to fully develop, a part of them stops growing. This fragmented part becomes an autonomous complex in the unconscious, a psychic entity that operates independently of your adult consciousness, influencing your emotions, your choices, and, inevitably, your physical health. Imagine your inner child as a real child, locked in a dark room inside you, screaming to be seen, validated, and cared for. When you ignore these screams, when you bury your needs under adult responsibilities and social masks, this child intensifies their calls for help, and the language they master most is the language of a suffering body. They can no longer cry tears, so they cry through chronic inflammation. They can no longer scream, so they scream through pains that migrate through the body without medical explanation. This is the dark alchemy of the psyche. Unintegrated emotional pain transforms into physical dysfunction. The first sign that your inner child is affecting your adult health is what we call chronic emotional fatigue. It's not just physical tiredness. It's an exhaustion that seems to drain your vital energy from the moment you wake up. You sleep 8 hours and wake up as if you'd run a marathon during the night. This happens because your inner child is constantly on high alert, reliving old traumas and preparing the body for dangers that no longer exist. They keep your nervous system in survival mode, draining your energy to fight ghosts of the past. Your body produces cortisol and adrenaline as if you were under attack, but the attack is just the memory of a wound that never healed. The second sign is rigid body syndrome. Your muscles are constantly tense, especially in your neck, shoulders, and back. You develop migratory pains that appear without apparent reason. This is because your inner child learned that relaxing was dangerous. They keep your body in a muscular armor, ready to flee or fight at any moment. Each tension is a bodily memory of when you needed to protect yourself, when there were no safe adults to guard you. The third sign is what we might call a digestive storm: chronic gastrointestinal problems, irritable bowel, digestive difficulties that don't fully respond to conventional medical treatments. Your inner child stores your unprocessed emotions in what Eastern traditions call the second brain, the digestive system. Every swallowed fear, every repressed anger, every denied sadness transforms into intestinal inflammation, spasms, an inability of the body to properly process food, because it's too busy trying to process the emotions you never allowed yourself to feel. The fourth sign is even more subtle but devastating: extreme sensitivity syndrome. Your inner child turns you into an emotional sponge. You absorb the energies around you, feel physically ill in tense environments, and develop inexplicable symptoms just by being near stressed or aggressive people. This happens because as a child, your survival depended on constantly monitoring the mood of the adults around you. You developed a hypersensitivity to the emotional environment as a protective mechanism. Now your nervous system still functions like a hyperactive emotional radar, picking up danger signals where none exist, causing your body to react with physical symptoms to purely energetic stimuli. You might develop migraines just by entering a charged environment, feel nauseous when someone is angry near you, or have heart palpitations without medical reason just because you picked up tension in the air. Your inner child never learned where they end and where another begins, so your body suffers trying to process emotions that aren't even yours. The fifth and most devastating sign is health self-sabotage. You unconsciously sabotage your own health care. You forget to take medications, ignore important symptoms, miss doctor's appointments, neglect exercise and good nutrition. This is because your inner child doesn't feel worthy of care. They learned that their needs weren't important, that they didn't deserve genuine attention or care. Now they reproduce this pattern by making you neglect your own body. It's as if there's an internal voice whispering that you don't deserve to be well, that suffering is your natural destiny. This is the cruelest way the inner child affects your health. They make you unconsciously collaborate with your own deterioration, boycotting any real attempt at healing and well-being. Now that you've recognized these signs, the path to healing is no longer a mystery. It's time to initiate a direct dialogue with your inner child. Grab a pen and paper, sit in silence, and ask a simple question. Little one, what do you need me to know? Write down the first thing that comes to mind without filters, without judgment. Let your inner child speak through your hand, tell their story, express their pain. Healing happens the moment you stop running from this pain and start embracing it. Every illness that lacks a clear medical explanation is screaming an emotional story that needs to be heard. Practice the internal embrace. When you feel an inexplicable physical symptom, instead of fighting it, place your hand over the affected area and say, I see you. I hear you. You are important to me. Promise your inner child that you will no longer abandon them, that you will no longer ignore their calls for help. Establish self-care rituals that honor both your adult need for responsibility and your childlike need for affection and protection. This could be a long bath, time alone in nature, moments of playful activity without a productive purpose. Your inner child needs to know that there is now a conscious adult within you, capable of offering the unconditional love they always sought in the external world. You are no longer that helpless child who had to suppress their needs to survive. You are now the conscious adult capable of offering yourself the care you always deserved. Recognize this transformation. By identifying how your inner child was affecting your health, you broke the unconscious cycle that held your body hostage to the past. You can no longer ignore the signs. You can no longer pretend that emotional pain doesn't affect the physical body. This awareness is your freedom. You are the healer of your own fragmented soul. You are the rescuer of the child lost in time. You are the living integration between the past that hurt and the present that heals. Comment below which of the 5 signs resonated most with your experience. Your courage to recognize these patterns can inspire others to begin their own journey of integration. Like this video, if you felt the courage to look at your inner child with compassion instead of denial. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the paths of deep psychological healing. The journey back home, to your true and integrated self, is just beginning. Your inner child is no longer alone. You have come to find them, integrate,